Good morning. I am making this video because I decided not to write a poem, but to share God's poem written on the earth. That's the way I'm kind of looking at it. So I was going on a walk this morning with my dog, who will be probably pulling my arm as I'm talking to you all. But I was walking around and I could feel all these thoughts arising in my mind. Largely because the way church is now is we pre-record our videos and then we watch them together on Sunday. The change in that is that if I already recorded the sermon, there are a few things that come up after recording that will be in my mind. And one of the things that came up was the death of DMX. And I knew it was coming on one side, and on one side I was just hoping that it wouldn't. More for selfish reasons, maybe, I don't know. And since he died after I recorded, I kept thinking, oh man, I wish that I hadn't recorded yet. So that came up, and a lot of other thoughts came up that I won't get into right now, but there were just so many thoughts were going through my mind. And as I was walking, I started thinking about writing a poem, and I was going to pull out my phone and start writing, but I forced myself to not do that, which is usually my outlet, and rather to just be with the thoughts and let them flow through my mind, and then I would write something afterwards. And I thought I would write about how thoughts rise in our mind and different things like that. But what I ended up doing was I came by this stream, or I don't even know parts of Earth, but but this stream, and it was better than a poem that I could write. So I'm going to show it to you. So this is a creek. This is what it's called. So this is a creek that is presently looks like it's barely flowing, and you see all those little floaty, bubbly things. Well, what came up inside of my mind was that our mind is like this creek, right? And then all the little bubbles are the thoughts that arise. And when we live our lives, a lot of times we focus on these little bubbly thoughts that arise, and we just put all our attention on those things, and we think that those are everything, when the reality is our mind is much larger, more expansive, and flowing. And right now, if I stop, it doesn't really look like it's flowing very much. It almost is still, and a lot of times our mind, as we witness what's arising in our consciousness, is kind of like that, and we just pay attention to all these little thoughts, not realizing that these thoughts are moving along the stream or the creek or the flow of mind. And so that's what's happening. And so I was watching that and comparing it to my mind, and comparing it to the thoughts and just witnessing. And sometimes things are happening while you're not paying attention, and if you just get still enough, the things start to move of their own accord, a part of the natural flow of things. So here we have this creek, and as I said before, if you just popped on, these little bubbles are like the thoughts that arise in our mind, but they're not the mind itself. So just take a moment and realize that. And then, as you can hear, you might be able to hear the flow a little bit better. And we get to this place right here where the water starts to speed up. And for metaphor purposes, this is like all the junk that gets caught up in our mind and obstructs flow to some degree. And a lot of times we get focused on this, like if your mind has all of this just going through it, and we have these things that just continue to just take resonance in our mind, and this ends up becoming the fullness of our reality. We only focus on all this junk, when the reality is that the mind is this stream, this creek that's flowing, and this stuff that's just stuck. It's just stuff. And our mind just moves past it and through it and just keeps on going. And if we align with that mind, then we don't have to really do anything. It just keeps moving of its own accord. And then you move to this further down on the creek, and you see that a lot of that junk that was floating, it gets disrupted, and it just keeps on going. And you might get some spots like that are stuck, thoughts that you get stuck on or whatever, but it just keeps on flowing. And if we just align with the mind and not align with the junk that comes up in there or the stuff, we could have a more flowing life experience. So I think God probably did a better job of creating this nature and this metaphor for life than I did articulating it. And it's always the way. You know, we try to give words to things that are, and we do the best that we can do. But I was grateful to just slow down and witness this creek flowing and realizing that the flow, the creek, that is, as I said, that's the mind. And all this stuff that gets stuck, all these things that we think are us are not. We're part of something far more expansive than we're aware of. And as I allowed myself to witness that, I let go of the things that I thought I missed in creating the sermon for this weekend. I let those things go and just try to trust, not even try, just trust that God's got all of this. Because if, just to go back to this image, if this is our mind, this flowiness, this creek symbolizes our mind, and the things just keep on moving and moving. And if we can align with that flow, imagine the flow of God, how much more expansive, how much more vast, how much more capable it is to take everything and to allow it to just flow and to move. And I guess the thing I want to offer to you all this morning, or whoever watches this, is to try to take that time to witness this metaphor, these metaphors that God has given us to witness. Because in some way, this earth, this creation, it's a mirror to our own souls, and we miss it all the time. And in fact, we destroy it. So at any rate, this is what's flowing through my mind right now, and I'm just going to try to get back in alignment with that flow. And in recent weeks and months, I've been trying to just rededicate myself to living from that spiritual awareness, because there's so much tension and so much anxiety going on in the world. And as I said before, I don't want to contribute to the reservoir of anxiety. And the best thing I can do is to try to become a non-anxious presence and then offer that to people. And to me, that's loving neighbor as self, which I think is the call of those who are in relationship with the divine. So that's it.